Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, I've been involved in a bipartisan way on the Alzheimer's issue and worked with a number of my colleagues on the other side, and wanted to just talk to you a little bit about the finalized national coverage determination and the frustration that I have heard from many of the stakeholders in my district in Illinois, particularly as it relates to my rural population. As you know, that determination for a class of Alzheimer's treatment-related drugs severely limits coverage for FDA accelerated approved drugs. I represent 19 counties across central, west central Illinois, including many rural communities. Aside from the fact that this process sets coverage precedent that will limit future innovation and cures, it also severely limits access to an entire class of drugs for my rural constituents and that have been disproportionately had a negative impact on their communities and what they suffer from. But my finer point on this, Mr. Secretary, is back on February 4th, Paul Tonka, Democrat, and I sent a bipartisan letter to you with 4 inquiries as related to the NCD decision or the determination. And I want to share my frustration, what we've heard from the lack of response from your office. And what is frustrating about that is, we have 4 common sense inquiries that require a substantive response as it relates to rural coverage, and nothing. And I want to share, I echo the comments of Mr. Kelly and others, and I think Mr. Pascrell said it best. If you can't respond, you shouldn't be here. And so when I think about the lack of response here, Mr. Secretary, do you need more staff to accurately respond?
Congressman, thank you for the question, and legitimate question. But remember, in many cases, you're asking questions that I'm not yet able to respond to, because while we're under rulemaking, for example, I cannot be responding to things because we're in a comment period and we have to accept all comments, and I can't say something just to you that I'm not saying to everybody else.
Just reclaiming my time, that was before the comment period. The question, yes or no, do you need more staff to respond appropriately?
Listen, I could always use a continued cooperation and work with...
The question is, do you need more staff to respond appropriately? Yes or no?
Well, again, I want to make sure I'm clear.
Can you answer yes or no whether you need more staff?
I have tremendous staff. We do have a great volume of work that we have to do, and we respond to it as best we can, where we can, and oftentimes we can't because we're under obligation to remain silent until we're allowed by law to respond. I'm
going to take that as a yes. So if we can get you more staff to respond appropriately to all of these inquiries, I think that's better. I mean, your budget is $1.8 trillion. So if you need more money to appropriately respond, we want to work with you. And the other thing that's frustrating is you're a former member of Congress. You know what it means to be prompt, have a prompt response, to get back to somebody. Maybe it's a follow-up, and what you say is, we're working on it, Congressman so-and-so, we're going to get back to you on it. But the frustrating part is we keep asking, we want to work with you on these issues, particularly as it relates to Alzheimer's, in a bipartisan way. And it's emblematic of our frustration up here with the lack of response when it comes to your office. So I want to help you in whatever way you need, more staff, more money, but we need better responses. I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. Let me recognize the gentlelady from Washington State, Ms. Del Bene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here with us, and thanks to you and your staff for